Hello, and welcome to the Footy Podcast. To benefit Here's Help. Here's Help is a nonprofit comprehensive rehabilitation and educational agency that's been providing treatment services in South Florida since 1968. For more information on Here's Help or Footy's podcast, you can contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. Now, here's Footy.
Welcome to the podcast, coming to you live from Environment here at Here's Help Inc. For those of you who don't know what this is, and I'm Footy, this is Ron Hersey. This is our weekly podcast. And for people who don't really understand what we do or what is done here at Here's Help on 151st and Northwest 27th Avenue is we have a school, a large school that has a lot of moving parts and dynamics that take place, and we try to help young men to reconstruct their life. They've deconstructed it, and then they get to us and we help them reconstruct it. We're building a plumbing school. We have our own high school, junior high school here, Dade County Schools system. We have, music. We have a culinary school. We have computer lab. We horticulture, weightlifting. we have a very large property on 151st Northwest 27th Avenue. So there's a lot we can do. But the main thing is, with substance abuse or just destroying your life one way or the other, is, I better listen to this. 64,000 people die of opiate addiction and use and overdose every year. That's the number. 64,000.
Wow.
I would have thought it'd be higher, to be honest with you. But it's still a lot, And so anyway, that's the world that we live in. And we're here on 151st and Northwest 27th Avenue for forever. But we also, people who've never been here, they don't understand the variety of activities that we have and training that we have. And one of the things, or the main thing we try to do is help a person reconstruct their life back into a new life. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking about one before this, and that's what you need to do. With you get involved with substance abuse and opiates and God knows whatever else, cocaine, and before you know it, it consumes your life and kills you.
Yeah.
That's it's a communicable disease.
Even alcohol. We have a lot of young men who are here because of issues with alcohol.
Yeah.
And the way you described it to me a long time ago, and I've never forgotten it, is, having a substance abuse problem is a full-time job.
Oh.
And it consumes every waking hour, and sometimes those waking hours go for 2 or 3 days. So the idea here is...
Well, what it does, and what you're saying is very true, but it can turn into a occupation.
Yes.
In other words, every day you got to go out and figure out how am I going to get whatever it is I'm trying to get, and where am I going to get the money, and who am I going to get this, how am I going to get away from the cops, how am I going to get away from my family, how am I going to... And it's really a very complex type of occupation is really what it is.
Right. And so the point here is the replacement life. You replace all those hours with a constructive employment. Give these young men an opportunity to learn a skill, get some certification, and go out into the real world and live a real life,
Yeah.
So, and it's been, for the relatively short time, I've only been involved in what's going on here probably for the last 5 or 6 years, which in the grand scheme of things is a very short time, but it's been pretty rewarding just from my standpoint, just to sit back and see these young men, because they'll come on and talk with us on a podcast, and when they first arrive, and a lot of times they're not real happy to be here. Yeah. and then you see the change. Yeah. You know, even their facial expression changes and their body language changes, and you can just see a whole metamorphosis take place. So it's been very rewarding for me to sit back and see what's going on here.
Yeah, you get to see the new life.
Yeah,
and you get to see them starting to live it, and it's life saving. I mean, it really is. Some make it, some don't.
Well,
but it's a very complex thing, but it's also, it's essentially a very hazardous occupation. It turns into a lot of destruction, and I mean, I went through it, so I know.
Right. Well, you know, and we've talked about this several times as well. The recreational user of substances doesn't really understand what I call, you know, the seedy underbelly of what takes place. You know, they go to a buddy of theirs, a friend of theirs who lives in a house somewhere and make their purchase, but they don't realize how that gets to their friend. You know, and when you've got a lot of cash involved, when you've got a lot of illegal activity involved, when you have territories involved, it gets very dangerous.
Yeah, it's a very complex occupation, and you're 100% right. It's very, very dangerous in a number of ways, because there's around every corner there's a noose waiting for you to put your head in it, and you know, we have the courts down there, and they're going crazy, but we live in our little world up here on Northwest 27th Avenue, and we've been able to create an environment, and you see it with our guys, create an environment where they start to change, they start to think differently, they start to want to do different things, they start to want to do something else, you know, where they didn't have that before. And as you said, you got a call from, who was it?
We got some really nice comments on one of our recent podcasts from a former student who had watched podcast 26 with Yohani and Jerry, and was just saying, you know, how proud he was to see, you know, that things are still going on here, and see these young men talking about making a better life for themselves.
That's where we are, and that's what we do, and we have complete facilities, but we can have all the magic in the world. You know, if you don't make that decision, just go, you know what? No more. Not for me. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, there's a certain commitment that, you know, you have to be engaged in this process as well, not just the counselors. So, you know, I want to shift gears for a second, because I've been dying to ask you, have you been following the Olympics in Japan?
What planet are you from?
What do you mean?
It's the Olympics.
Right. Well, okay. Well, so
of course I follow the Olympics.
So what are your thoughts?
You know, it's really interesting, because the whole thing is convoluted. It's not like the Olympics I was accustomed to, where they had like actual order and plans and stuff to do and things. It's like whatever comes to their mind or your mind, but no, I watch the Olympics day and night. I watch it religiously. And you know what I've noticed this year? Or this, I guess, because it's every 4 years.
Well, this has been 5 this time around.
It's every 4 or 5 years.
Because of the pandemic.
Yeah. There was a lot more nudity or like discretion of clothes.
A lot more revealing.
Yeah, I'm watching, and I'm watching the guys that diving, and they go into a shower and they all pull their bathing suit out, and I'm like, what's going on here? What is this? This is. But I love the Olympics. It's great, but it just doesn't seem to have the same luster that the previous Olympics had.
Well, you're right on a lot of things. First, as far as the skin, I remember the opening ceremonies, the shirtless, muscular guy from the Isle of Tonga, who immediately became an overnight sensation with the lady. Everybody at the radio station I work at was talking about the guy was all greased up, and he's walking into the thing. And so that was one. And then there was also a particular team. There was some sort of controversy about, I think it was the volleyball team. The uniforms were supposed to be bikini bottoms, and the girls elected to wear gym shorts instead, and there was some kind of controversy about that. The other thing, and my daughter...
Well, I can tell you, they're not wearing clothes.
Yeah, well, there's that. The thing that we were talking about, Lori and my wife Lori and my daughter were talking about, is it's so hard when you click on your TV, and if it's voice activated, you say Olympics, 8 boxes pop up.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to watch this event on Hulu, or do you want to watch this event on Peacock?
Yeah.
Or and it's like, well, geez, I don't know what I want to do now.
Yeah, I turn my TV on sometimes, and it'll have 10 boxes, and they all say empty.
Right. And you're
like, what is this?
What the hell is this? And Lori was saying she saw an article where viewership was down considerably because I think there was just too much confusion. You can have too many choices, But it doesn't have the same ambiance and the same flavor and the same kind of, that it once had. Well, I mean, the world used to stop for the Olympics. Right.
Now it's, what year is this?
Right. Well, part of the reason for that is there's so many other entertainment choices these days. Back in our time, there was 3 TV channels, and when the Olympics
Where did you live?
Well, where I lived, there was only 2. There was NBC, CBS, and ABC. There were 3 networks in the 60s.
Not where I lived.
What else did you have?
No, you had Channel 7, Channel 11, Channel 13.
Which were ABC, CBS, and NBC affiliates. We got maybe some independents, maybe.
Yeah, we got all kinds of... We had more... We had television 24 hours a day.
Well, that's the difference between New York and Fort Pierce. But I think...
we went to an actual movie theater that had a movie.
Well, we used to have an old lady that played the piano,
No, we got the movie.
And I think the other thing, getting back to what your point, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to update it. They're trying to upgrade it. They're trying to appeal to today's youth. And
it's much too clumsy.
They've added skateboarding.
It's much too clumsy. It's too poorly organized. You don't know what's going on for whatever. Part of it is that they have nobody in the stands, and it's like a studio where they're creating this.
Right. Well, to a certain extent, they are. But
we're not doing too good a job.
Well, I'm sure it's an amazing, massive undertaking with all these events going on simultaneously.
Well, I don't know.
Which ones to cover. And,
I know it's a big undertaking, but they don't seem to be on point. Like it's like they're dreaming this up as they go along. Get the 4 guys from Tonga and put them out there. It doesn't. But I watch it day and I can't turn it off.
And it is, on a positive note, it is very gratifying and very satisfying to see these young people who have spent their whole lives practicing for this moment, and to see them, I get teared up. The young lady who won the gold in surfing came out of the ocean.
Did you see the surf they were
it was like terrible. I mean,
it was like a hurricane right there.
You're used to those beautiful Hawaiian waves that rise up from the ocean and crest, and these guys were just like in the soup. You'd think, that he fell off the board, because he would disappear in the foam, and then he would emerge.
Yeah, but they weren't showing Hawaii from there.
No, I'm just saying that's what we're used to. We're used to those majestic waves, and it just seemed like it was very soupy and but I guess that's what they're looking for. But
you also, just to get, the practicals, you get when you're watching it and when they're doing it, mm-hmm. you get a sort of a scan of the world. It just seems more like a carnival than a real kind of athletic event.
Well, I think I agree with you, but I do think there are, like I said, there are moments.
Oh, there are moments.
I know in the swimming competition where Ledecky, the American swimmer,
she lost
to the New Zealander, and the first thing she did was give the New Zealander a big hug, and so it's nice to see that kind of camaraderie.
You buy that garbage?
Oh, absolutely.
They don't even know the guy.
Oh, no, they've known each other for years, those two.
Right.
They've been competing against each other, and they know each other very well. So
you're what's known in the TV industry as a sucker.
A mark.
Yeah. You don't get it. You don't get
well, it. I do get.
They probably got the guy they probably made him aboard and told him, go out and go surfing with him. We want to get some shots of that.
It's interesting to note. We went to the Olympics in Atlanta. I think it was '96.
Yeah, we did.
And
wasn't I there?
No, this was just a family thing. This wasn't a station event. You may have been.
Oh, I was there with Bobby Mitchell. We were there. But we were there when the bomb went off.
Yes, I was standing right next to that park bench where that backpack was, because that was where the stage was.
Yeah, but that Atlanta thing was just come on. They had it was like a carnival. They had people coming with little wagons and putting up, selling T-shirts, and it was just,
well, yeah.
No. They weren't supposed to be selling T-shirts.
Yeah, right.
They got into the TV industry, and there was no places to stay.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole experience. I thought it was really.
You know what I enjoyed? I found a great restaurant in downtown Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I went there every night. It was on the, it was on the top. It was on the top of a big office building, and it was really good.
Well, we were fortunate. My mom lived about an hour and a half east of Atlanta, and so we would just drive out.
Imagine living an hour and a half east of Atlanta.
Oh my God! Oh.
Yeah.
The thing that stuck with me the most, I was telling my kids about this the other night because we were watching gymnastics. The big ticket, because we bought our tickets in advance. The hot ticket was gymnastics. Everybody wanted to go to gymnastics because that's the big ratings bonanza on television.
They want to look at the half-naked girl.
Well, whatever. It was.
What do you mean, whatever?
The big hot ticket. Some of those girls. Anyway, I don't want to even go there. But
you mean some of those girls weren't girls?
Well, maybe the Russians weren't. Anyway, the point I wanted to make was that it's the hot ticket. Everybody wants to go to gymnastics. It's the big thing on television. It's the big ratings winner on TV. It's really great to watch on television.
I wanted to go to the basketball.
And then, well, we did. We went. But what struck me when I finally got there was, and what people who've never been to the Olympics don't realize is, at gymnastics, it's in this huge auditorium, and there's like 8 things going on at one time. There's all these different events going on, and there's no announcer, because you can't announce for 8 things at one time, so you have no idea what's happening. You go and you sit down in your seat, and you're watching something, and all of a sudden you hear this big cheer. You have no idea why they're cheering, what's going on. All of a sudden, music starts playing.
The Olympic Committee wouldn't even comment on the Atlanta event.
Right.
They were so embarrassed by what a hickathon it was.
That's so funny.
And no, they had nothing. They put on the guy. It was the guy who put it on. I forget his name, but he was the guy who talked them into it, and that it was going to be okay. And he lied. He told them all kinds of stories.
Well,
promises.
We could do a whole podcast on the IOC and the controversies and the.
Well, but I mean, Atlanta.
That's so funny that you get. I mean,
Atlanta
with that impression, because I thought it was amazing. That's so funny.
The head guy,
the guy from Atlanta or the guy from the IOC?
The guy from the IOC.
Oh yeah.
He refused to make a comment.
Oh, that's too funny.
About that Olympics.
Wow.
He just left town. Samaran,
I don't know.
Something Samaran. Yeah, he just said, "I'm out of here. This is ridiculous." Well, and it was. They didn't have. You know what? You know where we were staying?
Where?
A Days Inn. Okay, with one parking space in downtown Atlanta. I mean, it was you can't put that kind of event on with what they started with. Some hackathon in Atlanta.
That's so funny.
And it was, nobody. The people that were there weren't even people that were interested. They were just like people from around the state or the area were all going down there to light up the barbecue. And I mean, it was horrible. And then the fat guy blew up the place.
Right, that guy, yeah. And that was so spooky because like I say, we were there in Centennial Park that day, and they were setting the stage up. Travis Tritt was going to play that night, and they were setting up the stage. And being a musician, I wanted to see what was on the stage, what amps they were using, and all that kind of stuff. And I was standing because that was right to the side of the stage.
They had this kind of thing, didn't they?
Yeah, right. Right to the side of the stage was like the VIP area, and that park bench was sitting. That park bench was right there, and I was standing right by that park bench, looking at the stage, and that backpack was underneath that park bench. I don't know if it was there when I was standing there, but that's where.
So you were near the bomb.
I was within you to me from where.
But it didn't go off.
Well, it was during the day. In fact,
the morons couldn't get it to go off.
Right. In fact, we were on our hour-and-a-half drive out to my folks' house because we took the MARTA train up to I had lived.
Your family lives there?
Well, I had worked and lived in Atlanta prior to the Olympics. I had already moved down here by that time, but I knew Atlanta very well. So what we did was, instead of trying to find parking,
probably wasn't hard to know it very well.
Instead of trying to find parking near the events, we parked way up out of the event area.
Well, we didn't have that problem because we had a parking space at the Days Inn.
Yeah. So anyway, we're on our hour-and-a-half drive because we would take the MARTA from the Olympic events up to this other station, way away from where everybody else
that was the
parking.
other thing. To get from like one venue to another,
you had to take the MARTA.
It was another country. I remember we went on the bus. They took us on it was like, I said, well, when are we going to get to this place, wherever the hell it is? And it was on and on and on and on and on.
That's too funny.
And every time we got in something, we had to go through that area of Atlanta where they had all the folding card tables and they were selling the garbage. It was really, I got to be totally honest with you, it was just a complete fiasco. The head of the Olympic Committee refused to comment.
That's so funny.
On the whole thing because he was embarrassed to be associated with him. No, because they lied.
Right.
They lied to the people. They said, what it is that. And it's not. There was a bunch of hicks came up from like Dothan, Georgia, and that was it.
Dothan, Georgia.
Yeah, you didn't know I've been there.
That's Alabama, by the way. Just
what, Dothan, Georgia?
Dothan, Alabama. Anyway.
Big difference.
Maybe it's because you went to other Olympics and you had something to compare it to.
Yeah, they had electricity at the
right. We'd only been to one, and like I said, I knew the lay of the land, so it was very easy for us to get in and out.
I was going every night to eat in the Russian tea room.
That's too funny.
And it was at the top of
someplace
office. No, it was an office building, and it was the top floor. Oh, it was good. I couldn't wait to get down there. But funny. Everything else was like, hey, you want a knee-high and a hot dog? It's like, holy Christ. Where am I?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, but you're leaving out the other part.
What's that?
They were closing 2 of the terminals in the airport at 6 o'clock every night.
How do you close an airport terminal at?
Well, what they did at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. What was the purpose of that?
They had different They had different wings.
Yeah, I know.
And they shut them down. We couldn't get out. You couldn't get on a plane to get out of there. You were wandering around in Hicksville there, fitting right. You probably were, you know. No, they closed the. You know how you have like in an airport, you'll have like a main, and then you'll have.
Yeah, in Atlanta they have like the main terminal, and then there's A, B, C, and D.
Yeah, right.
And they're all.
Well, A, B, C, and D were closed at 6 o'clock every night. That's one of the reasons. Hello, don't look at me like I'm crazy. That Samarants was where, like, they closed the airport. You know,
I'm beginning to wonder if you were even at the Olympics.
Go slop the hogs and let me know how it works out.
Well, I was going to say that one of the things that we really did enjoy when we were at the Olympics.
You were able. Let me point something out to you. You were able to enjoy it,
right?
Because
no one's hearing what you're saying right now.
No, you were able to enjoy it. Because you were one of the only people in the entire community that, you know, was rudimentary enough to enjoy it.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
I went to Olympics.
Who did you go with? Who was on the air with you then? Bobby Mitchell.
Bobby Mitchell.
No wonder you had a lousy time.
No, he.
I'm sorry,
you know, he ran off with his girlfriend, I think, is what happened.
He left. He went to Texas.
We're the days in. I mean, come on. And then
that especially in downtown.
And then in the daytime, they break out the card tables. Hey, boy.
Well, don't you think
let me say, come here. I got some Olympic cards.
Don't you think that happens at every Olympics? Don't you think there's people outside the area, in the neighborhoods and stuff?
No, I think that some people go to the Olympics in a sophisticated way. I went to the Olympics in Barcelona. It wasn't like Atlanta, believe me. Okay?
Oh, man.
I've been to a number of Olympics. Well, and in New York, I went to the Olympics. But
that's too funny.
It was really, Atlanta was not the place to do this. Okay?
That's interesting.
Whoever paid Samaranch off to get the license to do the Olympics, because what he did was he got the money and then he ran out of town. He didn't even. There was one day he said, "What happened to Samaranch? When's he gonna do the closing comments?" And he didn't. He left.
Oh, that's too funny.
He had a fedora and a bag. And he was sneaking away.
He was flying out of one of the closed terminals.
I have nothing against that region of the country, and nothing against any of that kind of stuff, but it just was a complete disaster to have a awesome, enormous, world-funded and supported event in Atlanta. Okay, they couldn't even say the name of the city to people.
Yeah, it's Atlanta.
Yeah,
Atlanta. That's too funny. Well,
and listen. I'm half a farmer. Okay, no, my whole life I was hunting. I used to I was trapped in New England and Connecticut for long periods of time, and so I'm not adverse to Hicks, but this was like it was like. It was just so. Well, why don't you go back and look at some articles from that time?
Oh, I'm sure that. Listen, there's been more than one scandal involving the Olympics over the years. Not just Atlanta. I know there was
I wouldn't call it a scandal.
Controversy, but
I call it a fiasco. It was really horrible.
That's too funny.
Boy, but Barcelona. Ooh.
Yeah, really.
Oh, I never wanted to leave there. I love that place. Where else did I go? I think did I go to Paris once for that? I went to so many different cities for those things. But the Atlanta kind of stuck out.
That's too funny. Yeah, we had like I said, maybe it was just because we knew the lay of the land and we knew how to get around, but
you speak Hick.
And we had a great place to stay, and as I was saying,
you weren't in the Days Inn with me and Bobby?
No, we were not, and we were on our hour-and-a-half drive back out to my mom's house.
I think when the bomb went off, we were in the park.
Well, we were on our way back to my mom's, and all of a sudden we get home.
Did they ever catch the guy who did that?
The guy,
some kind of security
security guard, I think, was exonerated. He was the one who found the backpack and evacuated the park before it went off, and they immediately started looking. There's been movies about that guy.
They couldn't even set off a bomb.
Wow.
That's how pathetic the whole thing was.
So I don't know if they ever caught.
He was like a.
They ruined that.
He was a security guard or something.
Richard Jewell.
I
can't believe I remembered his name. That's amazing. I have no memory of anything.
Well, yeah,
it's
the
short term.
You're a card-carrying member of the club he's in. Hey, Richard, how are you, boy?
Easy now. We were on our way out to my mom's when we got out there, and the phone's ringing off the hook. Are you guys okay? Are you guys okay?
Your mother lives in Atlanta?
She did. She lived outside of Atlanta in a place called Buckhead. Not Buckhead in Atlanta.
I know Buckhead in Atlanta because they had I went there. They had a steak place.
Right, nowhere near that.
And they actually had the knives sharpened.
She lived way, way, way out of Atlanta. It was a different Buckhead altogether.
There's more than one Buckhead?
There is, yes. And
I remember I got a cab, or we got some, and the guy started telling us like all the places we should go.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you're kidding. And it was just like, he took us by a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And told us how good the restaurant was and drove right past it.
Kept right going.
Yeah, I said, well, thanks. I'm glad you pulled over there so we could get a pork chop. Unbelievable.
Well, anyway, yeah, so people were concerned, and we didn't even realize what had taken place, and people were calling the
bomb. I did, because I heard the bomb go off. Bobby and I were standing there like two idiots, and the bomb went off.
Wow.
And I was complaining the whole time. I was going,
I'm sure.
I said, what are we here? This is like a farmer's market.
It's like Farm Aid.
Yeah, it was really ridiculous.
That's true.
And I'm actually got a little bit of Southern. I go for that. I hunt, I fish, I do a lot of activities that
which is not exclusively a Southern activity, Just because you hunt and fish doesn't make you a hillbilly.
Well, I'm not going to go to Alaska. Okay.
You should.
For what? Freeze to death?
They have summers in Alaska. It gets very hot in Alaska.
Oh, yeah. Well, you go.
I've been.
Well, good. Go again.
Well, before we break out into fisticuffs, I guess we better bring this episode to a close.
Yeah.
Let's turn into point counterpoint here.
Yeah.
Debating.
No, I mean, the airport at 6 o'clock.
I'm going to have to research that. I can't.
At 6 o'clock.
Why on earth, at the busiest airport in the world,
why would you? Busiest in the world.
Well, it's at least the busiest in the U.S.
It had 12 customers in there.
It's the main hub for every connecting. But if you die before you go to heaven or hell, you have to stop and connect in Atlanta. Every flight, even if you're going from Seattle to Sonoma, you have to connect in Atlanta.
Yeah, well, I met Bobby, and I said, well, let's get on a plane and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, go to Vegas.
He goes, there ain't no plane. I go, what do you mean there ain't no plane? And we were standing by one of the whole, terminal entrances, and there was nobody there. It was empty. And we walked around, all the other ones were empty. Then they finally said, well, we shut down at 6 o'clock. So I said, you don't realize that you're going to get people from Russia coming here?
Right, yeah.
No, I didn't do it.
That's crazy.
The best part of the whole thing was that restaurant. I think it was called like the Russian Tea House, or it had a really kind of interesting name, but it was good. So,
well, at least you were well fed.
No, that was the one place I was able to get well fed.
Right.
The rest of the other places, the people, they didn't have any actual vendors. they just had people who came in trucks and
card tables
and put them out on the street, and they were trying
fire up the grill.
Yeah, they were trying to sell you stuff. What do I want that thing for? Oh no, you gotta have an Olympic pen. I said, I don't need no Olympic pen. And I like Atlanta, and
it sounds like it.
Had a lot of good times up there.
Me too.
But that one wasn't one of them.
That's too funny. Well,
and wait, and the bomb going off. In the middle of the whole thing.
Right.
Also was a cherry on the top of the cake.
Oh, well, before we wrap up, a couple of quick things. Number one, make sure you get Footy sauce. You saw Footy doing his Olympic weightlifting with the sauce. Make sure you shake it up when you get it.
Have you been introduced to Footy sauce? Footy sauce makes it easy to give ordinary chicken wings extraordinary flavor. Footy wing sauce is made with a perfect blend of herbs and spices. So what are you waiting for? Pour it on. Footy's wing sauce guarantees you a better taste than chicken wing every single time. When you fire up the grill, pour it on. Let Footy be your wingman. Kick your next party up a notch with Footy sauce. Grab Footy's wing sauce and pour it on.
But if you don't find Footy sauce and Footy wing sauce, hot sauce and wing sauce on your Publix grocer's shelf, make sure you ask for the manager and tell them that you want Footy sauce on the shelves, and they will jump to it. They'll get it on the shelves for you. It's great. All the money from the purchases of Footy sauce go to Here's Help.
And these to let people know, this is a chicken wing sauce. It's
right.
Like, if you're making, wings and stuff, you pour it on. It's
great. It's great on a lot of stuff. It's great on hamburgers. It's great on shrimp.
Yeah, I wish I had it when I was in Atlanta.
You could have set up a card table and sold 80 cases.
I would have been a millionaire.
So anyway, thank you for supporting us with your purchase of Footy sauce, because it goes to finance all the great work that's going on here on the campus. Also, thank you so much for watching our podcasts. We're getting, and for commenting, we're getting so many great comments on the podcast now. So be sure you watch the podcast. Do leave us a comment. We appreciate that very much. We got some very nice comments on our podcast with Yolani and Jerry here recently. So thank you for doing that. Make sure you click on the bell here on the bottom of the screen so we can notify you when there's a new podcast uploaded. So thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for staying with us today. Thanks for buying the Footy sauce. And we'll be back with a new podcast real soon.
Thank you for listening to the Footy Podcast. To benefit, Here's Help. For more information about the Footy Podcast or Here's Help, contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. The executive producer of the Footy Podcast is Sam Zacco, COO of Here's Help.